request our keynote speaker, Professor Das sir, to the dais to enlighten us with this talk. Sir, please.
Thank you very much. Chief Patron, Professor of Chancellor, who would have been in the chair, in absentia. Chief guest of the occasion, Dr. Pandit Nilakantha, guest of honor, my dear teacher, Professor Nilakantha, convener of the seminar, Dr. Nandini, head of the Department of Philosophy, and our junior friend, Sarusant Kaur, in the dais. And before me in the audience, all my compatriots, participants of the seminar, and my dear students. Head of the department, Modernity प्रति बड़ा कृतज्ञ से गोटे सुजोग देइछथि जे मोर अतीत सहित मोर भविष्यत एकाठी करी वर्तमान दीक्षा देई मोर अतीत होछि मोर डिपार्टमेंट of Philosophy Utkal University Bhubaneswar मोर भविष्यत होछि वर्तमान स्टूडेंट्स एंड रिसर्चर्स अछथि से उभय कैटेगरी वर्तमान देखा जो सुजोग देछथि सेति कृतज्ञ काना ई सुजोग लोक साधारण भूली जाछि जेति आखिर से चश्मा को आमे बहुत समय भूली जाबु तो बेले भूली जाइछि सेहि बेले भाबरे ए कथा भूली आई अनेक लोक स्मरण करथि नहीं संति एवं जितन ताको आयतन थाए माने पकांती से स्थिति को पहला कीनोट एड्रेस कथा लक्ष्य करिछि हमरे ओडिसा विभिन्न शिक्षा मिशन ने ज्ञानर गंताघर कोठी बिना चाबी खुली जाए चाबी मिलेगी बिना चाबी खुली जाए बेले बेले दीटा से होता है दीटा कीनोट एड्रेस है कि इट्स ए मैरिज बेले बेले जे कौन सी पीएस चाबी खुले ज्ञान वो पारी को तो चेष्टा करी मोदी चाबी तेरी को गाना मुश्किल और यार इसे सब पहले सुनो शिवपुरी को भी नहीं जानी नहीं कि वो पारी को तो चेष्टा करी चाबी तेरी को तो कहती वर्तमान उपस्थापन करे चाहूँ the title of the address is Rational Base of the Human Race, an analytical gloss on Pandit Nilakantha's reflections. Dr. Vikram Das, the gifted son of the glorious father Pandit Nilakantha, compiled a book entitled Indian Learning and Culture, which is published by Odisha Sahitya Academy in 1993. He describes Pandit Nilakantha as one of the makers of modern Odisha, honored as a national hero. He is better known here as a Mahamanishi Nilakantha. He graduated from Bhubaneswar College, now University, in 1909 with science as one of his subjects, as Bhubaneswar said, chemistry, and became a postgraduate in philosophy from Calcutta University in 1911. For some time, he was professor of the Shulpur chair of Calcutta University. He started the MA course in Odia language there in 1921, for which Maharaja Virmitrodeva Singh Deo, the chosen ruler of Sonpur state, donated funds. The chair is extinct now. এবং Sonpur Maharaja, Riverside College এর মতো একটা চেয়ার করছে ইংলিশে, সেটা মতো ভাবছি এক্সটিংক্ট হয়েছি। সে বলছেন যে মানে প্রফেসর ডিপার্টমেন্টর যে জানেন কিছু Sonpur রাজা তো funds দিয়েছিলে, সে funds তো পুরো কোনো বিস্তৃত কর্মক্ষেত্র কি করে প্রিন্সিপাল ডিসিশন নিয়ে আসবো, সে চেয়ার বলা হয় ফন্ডগুলো টেবল। সে যা হোক Sonpur chair was there in Calcutta University and Riverside, both are extinct now. But he left the assignment, Pandit Nilakantha left the assignment in order to join the non-cooperation movement. Pandit Nilakantha was an all-round scholar with a specific bent of mind. As a research scholar in the field of Sanskrit, Odia, and history, he had made significant contributions. Narendranath Mishra sees in him a medial mind. In recognition of his merit, Utkal University adorned him with the degree of Doctor in Literature, D.Litt., and the designation of Pro-Chancellor. He was honored with Padma Bhushan by the Government of India in 1960. He bears the credit of being the founder president of Odisha Sahitya Academy 1957 to 1858 and was the recipient of National Sahitya Academy Award in 1964 for his Atmajivani or autobiography as already stated. He is a celebrated poet and philosopher rolled into one. H.T. Coleridge, the romantic poet, Samuel Taylor Coleridge, proclaims, I quote, "No man was ever yet a great poet without being at the same time a profound philosopher. For poetry is the blossom and the fragrance of all human knowledge, human thoughts, human passions, emotions, language." Unquote. It may be remarked in passing that scholars of non-philosophy departments have attempted to depict the philosophical ideas of Pandit Nilakantha, but the result has been scanty. For example, Prasanna Kumar Swain, I think he is now the Vice Chancellor of Sanskrit University, and Prasanna for us. In his book, Pandit Nilakantha Smriti Sandarbha, a 3.5-page chapter entitled Pandit Nilakantha Kagyasrustire Darshanika Chintadhara, which is confined to his immortal poetic position on earth and says very little about the poet's philosophical reflections. Pandit Nilakantha says about himself that he is standing in husbandry, he is standing his husband, he is standing his husbandry and his practice is mainly politics. Scholarly studies might have been his recreation. These scholarly studies need system and maturity. Politics makes men depend on common sense, speculative objectivity on the needs and tendencies of others and act on probabilities. And this is the nature of politics. A scholar explores truth even in the region of the unknown. Pandit Nilakantha is a politician and scholar in tandem. For human relations and activities, the scholar describes the norm which the politician has got to follow with a reference and implicit obedience. Thus, he is a politician with a difference. Anybody today takes to politics and floats his or her identity as a politician. In such a situation, Pandit Nilakantha, with a court apart, should be given the honor of a guardian politician. Pandit Nilakantha has such insights in his study of Indian learning and Indian culture as are admirably relevant today. These must be read and reread till digested. For a proper study of India, two things are necessary. Number one, the approach and outlook should be Indian. Number two, the language and terminology should be indigenous in terms which are embedded in the life of the people. And number three, mere imitation may not be taken for assimilation. It may be mentioned here that there have been and are deliberations about this under the caption Swaraj in Ideas. And Pandit Nilakantha's deliberations belong to that genre with the further maxim that those should be in terms which are in vogue among the laity. In this area of LPG, liberalization, privatization and globalization, assimilation and amalgamation have become the order of the day, and the message of the day is writ large on the wall. What is that? These are not the words to be found in the dictionary, these are all symbolic. One is, one does, one does. The result of which is confusion, then one fusion and total annihilation. Forced standardization destroys variety which constitutes an interdependent system in its harmony and beauty. It is therefore called a cosmos. Parts of same feather flock together. Why should a crane, imitate a swan also in order to become one? In the words of Pandit Nilakantha, I quote, that India is a part of the entire humanity does not mean that it is merely a mechanical person of it. It has its distinct feature and as such, it may be a component element in a synthesis. Unquote. We would not accept as rooted Kipling does not. Oh, East is East and West is West and never the twain shall meet. It is rooted in a poet of England. He said this but does not agree with it, and we also do not agree. As the Nilakantha would not agree. We would shake hands with one another, dine together, and discuss matters together. But we must retain our distinctiveness, bereft of individuality. The two do not remain as two, they coalesce into one. The two may or may not be equal, but they are never uniform. Pandit Nilakantha perceived that this outlook and the ideal of this uniformity spell out danger to human existence and progress, especially conceived in the material plane, what we find before our eyes now. The distinct character of human personality crumbles under the pressure of economic need. Organization of human affairs is conceived in terms of totalitarian states under dictatorial authorities as the high road to ultimate peace and plenty to be enforced permanently on man. In such a conception, human personalities are torn into automations and progress is exclusively seen in disintegrated profession and economic occupation. Human value, that is human personality and character, is considered a superstitious fantasy imposed upon society by the exploiter for his own advantage. Pandit Nilakantha is pointing his finger at socialistic totalitarianism, but he would ensure extend it to totalitarianism of any other kind. He perceives the vagaries of the situation of the mid-20th century, but appears to prognosticate the situation of decades to come. They strike us as an apt critique by a contemporary living authority author of the present time and witnesses flaunting of utopian ideas by ambitious leaders. Such ideas are, according to him, indefinite and indefinable. To quote him, ideals are ideals, they are never actual. No doubt they are to be straightened after, but they are never attained as such, unquote. A rational mind only can distinguish between ideals and delusions. The young mind is easily deluded. The youth is fanatic, and fanaticism is a creation of blind faith. The youthful glittering eyes are bright with dreams, which more often than not turn pale in the rising of the sun, symbolizing knowledge and rationality. The youth is overtaken by a faith in some better state of things, necessity to comfort and comfort to luxury, to be attained easily and immediately. They are victims to unshaken and intolerant reliance on gospels and doctrines pushed in by others. They believe in novelty and stay in an attitude of devil may care about consequences. Take care attitude. Pandit Nilakantha writes down his own philosophy of life in his autobiography as an annexure running over 4 pages. The very first paragraph, consisting of 6 lines, take out the impression that he is what I am inclined to call a Gita Purusha, a person cheated out by the ideals of the Bhagavad Gita. His self-assessment reads, I quote, I never did have sharp memory for event details. Do forget happenings very soon. I know that it is my good luck. Due to that, I cannot retain for long bitterness or enmity towards anybody. It must be the same or friendship or familiarity. But I cannot tell about that others could. I can tell this much, that emotions stuck to my heart do not torment me. For now or for how intense those might be are not long lasting. Unquote. Thus, he is an equipoised person in the spirit of the Gita. What is the Nilakantha belongs to the intellectual level of being, not to the mental or emotional level. He loves and respects reason and argumentation more than emotion, passion, and blind following. This is the distinctive property of the human animal, as he is endowed with a discriminating faculty or viveka that sees differences wherever they are and shows those properly wherever needed. He is hypercritical about what ordinarily go in the name of religion. The stories, the rituals, and above all, the mindset of followers of a god or trinity. He calls some selected stories as Bhaktika Mithya. Some idols camouflaged ones and the attitude infrahuman. All these are due to suspension or dysfunction of reason. It is a biological fact that emotion is common to all animals, human and non-human. The domesticated animals do not obey their owners on the strength of reason. To tame an animal is to rouse its inherent emotion and make it permanent in it or transform the same into habit. That is training. The human animal, in contrast, is taught, educated, disciplined, and concepts are instilled in his mind. Initially, and in different cases, the human being is treated like an animal and is given physical punishment. If the process fails or the agent fails in the process, then there is every possibility of his turning dogmatic and opinionated. In no ambiguous or vague terms, Pandit Nilakantha points out that the Bhakti Dharma of man is animal dharma. Bhakti Dharma is Pashu Dharma. He says. In Bhakti Dharma, men are trained like animals in a mass scale and managed in well-planned ways to think, speak, and act. Habit, the second nature, becomes the first nature with such regimented human animals. The feature that binds human beings together is religion, Manava Dharma. The philosophic bond, he was argumentative from his very boyhood and not undulated by emotion and passion. He took the half path of duty where there is no place for cheap sentimentality. One cannot teach how to become argumentative. The elder would show through verbal and non-verbal interactions with the budding children on all and sundry matters, and through participation, the junior would gradually become argumentative. This is the dialogical style in which the elder inculcates human values and the junior imbibes the same. This is like injecting antibiotics into the physical body along with saline. The process of teaching descriptive literature and moral literature separately is a misconceived one. The basic element of progress is knowledge. It is acquired and conserved in learning. The Indian conception of learning is highlighted by Pandit Nilakantha. The Vedic literature mentions 18 branches of learning about the nature of objects, both concrete, physics, chemistry, etc., and abstract, philosophy and mathematics. Knowledge is comprehensive of theory in practice, not theory and practice. Concept building is the first step to knowledge. It involves abstraction. The very division of objects into concrete and abstract involves abstraction. This is the fundamental basis of all knowledge and its progress. When abstraction proceeds higher and higher, we have developed sciences, literature, art, and philosophy. Let me add that literature and philosophy stand at the highest level of abstraction in two different modes. Literature inculcating aesthetics and philosophy inculcating metaphysics, epistemology, logic, and ethics. It might be noted here that we have philosophy of science, philosophy of literature, and philosophy of art. All these human enterprises constitute civilization and culture. When they flourish, they bring to men prosperity and peace. Abstraction of a lower order synthesizes several objects. That of higher order, more objects. Each subsequent abstraction engulfs the previous and rises still higher. From a material beings capital B, one could say, or from onion to Maya, as the Gita would say. Thus, there prevail synthetic unity and continuity of culture of the human race in different parts of the globe. Cultures, systems, traditions do not appear and disappear like pages of the calendar with each passing month. The root meaning of dharma is to hold and uphold. Jiyate lokaha anena va dharati. Smriti Sambhava. Pandit Nilakantha defines dharma as organized self-expression of the universal person, the cosmos, denoted by the term Purusha Mahanta. For a similar view, like Bhubaneswar, Vaidya Dharma Darshan. He also writes in a similar way. In the empirical plane, similar statements, that is direct of metaphysics, speculative ideas, and mysticism. In the empirical plane, dharma is the organization of all human affairs in proper order, imbued with moral values and with noble purpose. The idea is that the nominal soul sacrifices itself to the phenomena, and dharma is personality in self-expression, conceived particularly, and the elements of that expression are interrelated. The being loses itself in the becoming. It is complete sacrifice, unquote. The sacrifice is verily called yajna. In the Gita, Sri Krishna tells Arjuna that sacrifice, yajna, and a creation, pradasrishti, are synchronous. 3.10. One is the existential side, and the other is the ethical side of this same act. This is the connectedness as in the universal, so also in the particular state of things. The former is in the metaphysical plane, and the latter is in the physical plane. In the Vedic conception of Rutta or Satya, and Dharma, they are coterminous. Rutta denoting the ontological, Satya the epistemological, and Dharma the moral conception of anything or being of the universe. As Pandit Nilakantha puts it, dharma of a person is its personness expressed just as Manushya Dharma or Dharma of man is his manness expressed. If the term humanism used by some scholars mean this, humanism is the topic of discussion, what is mentioned here. If the term humanism used by some scholars mean this, then it is acceptable. But if it is used in the same sense as in the context of Western philosophy, then it would not be appropriate as this term has other ramifications there. Pandit Nilakantha says that human actions pertain to society and hence they are regulated in social relations. Thus, well-regulated actions evolve into culture. Society is the basis of human progress and culture. Hence, the entire gamut of human actions wears social face. Even acts of a person are done in the society and for the society. This is the Indian ideal which is boldly enshrined in the Bhagavad Gita. I quote, we always regulate our actions in view of the society in which the individual person realizes himself, that is, his ideal, and thus fulfills his utility. This is the life of a noble man. This is the life of a noble man or Arya Jivana, and the action is Niskama Karma. Pandit Nilakantha calls Niskama Karma, and Gita Dharma is the same as Kartavya Dharma, which again is synonymous with Swadharma or Atma. The people who make it as philosophy of life are called Arya. And so it is Arya Dharma. The word Arya is used in several ways, but originally it is a Dravidian word which means rare. Arya means a rare human being, a man in the crowd, so to say. He quotes a very important sloka from the Bhubaneswar Samhita. केवल शास्त्रम आश्रित्य न कर्तव्यो विनिर्णयः युक्तिहीन विचारेतु धर्महानि प्रदायते. Samhita, whose meaning is do not ascertain what is to be done on the basis of Shastra alone. Dharma is lost by deliberate divide of rishi. So, the Gita Dharma is Jukti Dharma. It is intended for all created beings. Praja, Sarva Bhuta Vite, Pradaha. That is Bhagavad Gita 12.4. So, it is Praja Dharma and a fortiori, it is Manava Dharma. It is intended to be an all-pervasive global religion, Vishwadharma. This Vishwadharma is, however, not the same as the universal religion propounded by Swami Vivekananda. Now, in this collection, we may see his long and profound introduction to the Gita in Indian language, Gita professor. It is rendered into English by Engineer Kari Prasad Rath with the title Understanding the Gita, that was translated in August 2022. Now, who exactly is an actor? The following couple of couplets, one quoted by Sankara Drona and both by Ishwar Krupa, present the functional definitions of the term actor. Kartavyam, Acharan, Kamam, Akartavyam, Anacharan, Tishtati, Praktachari, Sadhu, Adya, the actor is one who does what he should do and does not do what he should not do, and who acts for the sustenance of the body in accordance with the law of the land. And the second one, Yatha Acharan, Yatha Chitam, Yatha Shastram, Yatha Sthitam, Vyavaharam Upadate Ja So Adya. The idea is one who follows the way with the world according to the lawful guidance and practice, the dictates of its conscience and the edicts of the sacred books. So, Arya is defined in this way. Right knowledge alone leads to right action. This is elucidated, we remember, by the Buddhists under the rubric of Arya Ashtanga Marka. The three broad divisions of which are number one, Pragyan, that is Samyak Drishti and Samyak Sankalpa. Number two, Shira, that is Samyak Pak, Samyak Karma, and Samyak Ajivika. And number three, Samadhi, Samyak Prayatna, Samyak Smriti, and Samyak Samadhi. Such knowledge, Pandit Nilakantha observes, is not knowledge which is derived from empirical exploration that ends in probabilities and uncertainties. This is knowledge of the self and the universe as a whole, which is but philosophical wisdom. I quote, life organizes matter and mind understands it. These phenomena appear only when the universal phenomena are in better expression. Being itself is an abstraction from the becoming, and becoming matter puts forth actual and creative abstraction in life and mind. Thus, knowledge and action are seeds of culture and a product of philosophy. This is to be imbibed in the form of life, as it says, in the form of life of one's own. It cannot function with borrowed philosophy by imitations and assimilations. The Bhagavad Gita has a warning, Swadharma Nisanam Seva, Paratharma, 3.35. It was a matter of deep anguish for Pandit Nilakantha and more so for us that being dazzled by the outfit of allied civilization, the modern generation is living a life of hodgepodge mentality. This is precipitated by the technology of the day proliferating in giant products and According to the diagnosis of Pandit Nilakantha of the cultural allies, it is the inferiority complex that gives rise to the attitude of appropriating the virtues and ideals of allied traditions, sometimes with the level of virtue and ideals of India's own, like humanism, egoism, altruism, etc. Let me quote the words of Pandit Nilakantha as they hit the nail so accurately and successfully. This is not only the attitude of cheap imitation in exhibition, but it also involves influence created by inordinate respect for institutions apparently lovely and palpable. It is due to our inferiority complex we forget that India alone idealizes women into a model. No other country has done it. The West has perhaps idealized law and conjugal wifehood of man. There, she is more a wife than mother. But India has no word for exactly expressing sexual or marital law. Our pranayam is looking up to life's ideal. It involves adaptation and adjustment with a view to fulfilling life's mission. Our anuraga is a suggestion for common happiness. There is nothing sexual or sensuous about it. Unquote. The word pranaya sparks of mobility. The derivation of the Sanskrit word is pra ni dhatu plus ach pratyaya, bringing forth meaning of affection, dedication, and their aims. Love is not carnal and casual, but spiritual and eternal. What is the Nilakantha finds in Alfred Tennyson's Princess, the spark of soft love. In the Princess, the poem by Alfred Tennyson, the Princess, the poet tells the story of an heroic princess who abjures the world of men and founds a women's university where men are forbidden to enter. The prince to whom she was betrothed by the teacher Janati in infancy enters the university with two friends disguised as women students. They are discovered and they flee away. But they fight a battle for the princess's hand. They lose and are wounded. Then the women nurse the men back to health. Ultimately, the princess returns the princess love. The princess returns princess love. Tennyson sings. And quote Tennyson, "O love, they die in yon rich sky, they faint on hill or field or river, our echoes roll from shore to shore and grow forever and forever. Blow beguile, blow, save the wild echoes flying, and answer, echoes, answer, dying, dying, dying." One can find in Shakespeare, sonnet number 116, depiction of such love, such platonic love. Let me not to the marriage of true minds admit impediments. Let me not to the marriage of true minds admit impediments. Love is not love, which alters when it alteration finds, or bends with the remover to remove. Or no, it is an ever fixed mark that looks on tempests and is never shaken. It is a star to every wandering bark, whose port is unknown, although his height is taken. Love is not time's food, though rosy lips and cheeks within his bending sickle's compass come. Love alters not with his brief hours and weeks, but bears it out even to the age of doom. If this year, Shakespeare says, if this year and upon me proved, I never reaped, nor no man ever found. That is Shakespeare. The mission of the princess of Tennyson is to establish gender equality and women's league, which imply that women and men have equal rights and opportunities in all areas of life. Pandit Nilakantha agrees with the idea of women's liberation, as it is unreasonable that men dominate over and subjugate women. But it does not agree with the complementarity theory to the effect that the one part of society runs on two independent wheels. He rather believes in the interdependent Ardhanarishwara, Shiva Shakti conception in marital relation. Shiva, that's welfare, without Shakti, that's power, false as Shava, not, and Shakti without Shiva, false in Bhranti or delusion. I quote below a few lines in Odia from Pandit Patnaik, Kavi Manishi Nilakantha. But the Nilakantha has beautifully translated Tennyson's poem into Odia with the title Pranay. Pranay is a tension converse. Odia about those. রাজকুমারী মনে করিছি নারীঠাରୁ পুরুষ স্বতন্ত্র হব রাজকুমারী মনে করিছি নারীঠাରୁ পুরুষ স্বতন্ତ୍ର হব ସେଥିପାଇଁ ପୁରୁଷମାନଙ୍କ ବିରୁଦ୍ଧରେ ତାର କଠୋର ସଂଗ୍ରାମ ତାର ସ୍ୱପ୍ନ ହେଲା ନିରବଚ୍ଛିନ୍ନ ସବୁଠାରେ ସମ ହେବେ ନର ସଙ୍ଗେ ନାରୀ ରନ୍ଧନଶାଳାରେ ଦୁହେଁ ଦୁହେଁ ମନ୍ତ୍ରଣାରେ ଜଟିଳ ସଂସାର କର୍ମେ ଦୁହେଁ ନୀଳକଣ୍ଠ ଟେନିସନଙ୍କ କାବ୍ୟର ମତକୁ ଗ୍ରହଣ କରିନାହାନ୍ତି। ସେ କହନ୍ତି ସମାଜର ଉପଭୋଗ ବୃକ୍ଷରେ ନାରୀ ଓ ପୁରୁଷ ଗୋଟିଏ ବୃନ୍ତରେ ଦୁଇଟି ଫୁଲ ଦୁହିଁଙ୍କ ସହଯୋଗରେ ଏ ସୃଷ୍ଟିର ସୌନ୍ଦର୍ଯ୍ୟ ରସାଣି ନାରୀ ଓ ପୁରୁଷ ଠିକ୍ ଗୋଟିଏ ବୃକ୍ଷ ଭଳି ବୃକ୍ଷର ପ୍ରତ୍ୟେକ ଅଂଶ ପରସ୍ପର ସହିତ ସଂଯୁକ୍ତ ପୁଣି ତଫାତ୍ ମଧ୍ୟ ନାରୀ ନରର କ୍ରୀଡ଼ନକ ଭାବରେ ଜୀବନ ଅତିବାହିତ କରୁ ଏ କଥାରେ ନୀଳକଣ୍ଠ ଆସ୍ଥା କରିନାହାନ୍ତି। ମାତ୍ର ଅବିବାହିତ ରହିଲେ ପୁରୁଷ ଓ ନାରୀ ବିଚ୍ଛିନ୍ନ ହୋଇ ବ୍ୟକ୍ତିତ୍ୱର ବିକାଶ କଲେ ସମସ୍ୟାର ସମାଧାନ ହୋଇପାରିବ ନାହିଁ। ନାରୀ ଓ ପୁରୁଷ ଉଭୟଙ୍କର କର୍ମସଖା ହୋଇ ଜୀବନ ଅତିବାହିତ କରିବେ। ନୀଳକଣ୍ଠଙ୍କର ସମାଧାନର ବାଣୀ ହେଲା ପ୍ରଣୟିନୀ କାବ୍ୟରେ ଉଭୟ ନର ନାରୀଙ୍କ ସହଯୋଗରେ ସମାଜ ଜୀବନର ବିକାଶ ହେବ। କ'ଣ ସେ ଲେଖିଲେ? ସପ୍ତମ ସର୍ଗ ଏକ ସଙ୍ଗେ ମିଶି ରମଣୀ ପୁରୁଷେ ଭବେ ପଡ଼ିବେ ଉଠିବେ ଏକା ତୁଳା ଦଣ୍ଡେ ଯେବେ ଲଇଁବେ ରମଣୀ ଅବନୁତ ହେବେ ଘରେ ରମଣୀ ମହିମା କରିବ ପୁରୁଷ ବଡ଼ ଦାସତ୍ୱ ପୀଡ଼ନେ ସ୍ୱାଧୀନତା ଖେଳେ ଅବା ରମଣୀ ପୁରୁଷ ନୁହନ୍ତି ଅଲଗା କେବେ ଜନମ ରମଣୀ ବଢ଼ଇ ପୁରୁଷ ସନେ ପ୍ରକୃତିର ଖେଳେ ରମଣୀ ପୁରୁଷ ମିଳି ଉଠି ପଦେ ପଦେ ଯାଆନ୍ତିକ ବିକାଶର ସୁସନ୍ତୋଷ ପାଏ। The mission of the princess is to establish. Pandit Nilakantha adds, human is not a slave in our household. He is the presiding goddess, so to say. He has no share in property. Or horse is what all others share. We share that property. Against that is the shocking impact of varied forms of contract marriage today. Even such an institution can be assimilated. Contract marriage but by no means should they be imitation in all forms. He points out the difference between the cultural situation of India and that of the West. The West has only developed one aspect of life with its objectives. This gives rise to action and reaction which strife left unbridled, such a life would crush and end in extermination of all life on the planet Earth that looks so beautiful from the technological system in space. With the manufacturing and trading of weapons in the mainstay of economy of some countries, the establishment of peace is a cureless cry. In India, in contrast, such means and methods are different. Number one, they are in conformity with, not in contravention with, the course of nature. This is number one. Number two, they are not dictated by the needs of the body and the sense or desires. Number three, they are regulated by the subjective principle of spirit. Pandit Nilakantha's understanding of the ways of Indian learning is very much relevant in the context of NEP 2020. Ordinarily, learning means acquisition of knowledge as the foundation of thought and conduct. It might also mean merely the acquisition of power of performance to supply human needs. Trade and commerce increase exponentially, and consequently, need and greed increase and values remain in debt. Culture is generally understood as refinement expressed in social relations. In India, it is known as Binoyo, which is orderly expression of the principles of self in the actions. The order of propriety underlies a norm or standard or judgment that persons have. The better is the stock of such knowledge, the more advanced is the culture. As Pandit puts it, knowledge is the basis of culture, and the culture is the index of knowledge or learning. Or knowledge not acquired is non-existent. Learning not expressed in culture is valid and useless, and culture without learning is inconceivable. A human being must strive to become learned and cultured. When you seek to promote ideas in the knowledge system, you cannot avoid the reminders that Pandit Nilakantha sounded nearly half a century back, and yet appear to be so fresh. It must be seen that a system is a symbiosis of both subject matter and the method. One without the other is incomplete. If you are the provision pick up with the body of an eagle, that would be paradas. Not less so when you depend on the technological gadgets, including AI, for teaching and learning. The product of civilization under the guidance of the Indian thought would be the real coveted heaven on the earth. The entire purpose is the spiritual transcendence of the whole society. It is not the purpose to give the control button in the hands of somebody to tame the people and take them by right day. The rational human being would resist it, and subjugation of self would be a revolt against Rudra, the very state and order of the universe. To conclude, let me remind that ideas move the world. Ideas have force, but force does not have idea. Ideas have force, but force does not have any idea. According to science, there are four fundamental forces which they have been trying to reduce one into another and finally to one. Forces operate, act, react, impact. Ideas show those the path where to move and why to move. It is the spirit which moves. This is the root meaning of spirit. So, one humanity, one society, and one social self. The Viranga, the also Sissa Purusha, that is, Vyavasayatmika Buddhi, Ekaham,